Hey now, how is everybody doing? Welcome to Red Alert Diaries live with Tanya E. Hood. I'm glad I get the chance to see you. And if you listen to this morning's episode, then you already know what we are going to talk about. Because today I shared 5 things that I went through when I was going through the divorce to help me get a little more stable financially, get my mindset together, because that's a key component to getting through this thing called divorce. When you're separating from the other individual, it's difficult. The emotional toil that it takes on you causes you to just get some brain fog. So today, I gave you 5 things I had to consider, some stuff I learned along the way that I should have done earlier, but I did not because I didn't know any better. So you don't have to walk on the landmines I have already crossed. I shared that with you this morning. The first thing was understand your financial situation. We have a basic idea of our finances, but when things are going well, we don't pay a lot of attention to where our money is going, what we're spending it on. And if you and your ex, potential ex, however the situation is at this moment is for you, you may not have really considered all of the different factors that both of you will bring into the table. Now, I knew in my marriage that my ex made more money than I did, but what I did not pay enough attention to was all of the situation that we would be walking through from a financial perspective. I did not consider there were time because after 11 years of marriage, you go through a couple of different financial ups and downs. Some things you set aside in one area that you may potentially forget. Separation of some things because we ended up in a space where money was a little funny for a little while, so there were separate accounts. But while you're walking through this situation, get clear about your assets and liabilities so you can have a clearer perspective of your financial situation. That leads me to number 2. Start planning. Once you understand what's going on in your world, you've got to plan. You don't have a plan, often you will end up in a position where you're before the judge and they will use some generic based plan that they come up with that will not be supportive of you. How do I know that? Because I was not fully prepared financially when I began this journey. So I know now if you're walking through the moments where you're in the in between of getting a divorce, trying to figure things out, you're not quite gone, things aren't final, you've got to go before the judge. What do you do? Yeah, you got to have a plan in place. And then part of that is also establishing a financial plan. I shared earlier that you may need to get a financial advisor to give you an idea of what your potential future could look like. And for some individuals that have some elements in place, what is a long-term strategy of segmenting or sparsing out the funds that are in different areas? Because depending on what you're doing from legal perspective with the jobs. There's some pieces where you cannot get the finances right now, so you may need to put some long-term pieces in place so that you can have that taken care of later. I strongly encourage you. If you're walking through and things are finalized and you get the chance to separate some stuff from your job, go to your job and resubmit those papers, change your beneficiaries, look at who you have going to, so that there will be no concerns later. I find that some individuals, when I was doing this a little more full time, had their ex still on some of their financial papers. And when their current was around, they didn't pay attention. And something happened. The money didn't go where they anticipated it going because they forgot. So get a list going about what you need. And that's the fourth element. Draw up the agreements that are needed. When you're drawing up those agreements, it gives you clarity about what to look for, where the things are, and getting a lawyer or financial planner to give you some insight about what to look for supports you in developing those agreements. And here's the thing, for those of you that have children, I shared earlier today that when I was walking through trying to get the custody agreement, the parental agreement, those things, if you can do it amicably with your soon to be ex before the chaos happens, do it. But when you write it down, get it notarized. Your notary is your support system in this journey if you don't have a lawyer to file the paperwork for you. Because when I was going through the journey with my ex, we didn't go through a lawyer the first time we went to court. But we did have, I thought, and it was a beneficial moment at that time because we were still in agreement. We filed together, we walked together, we went to a notary together with what we drew up. Now, planning in advance gave me an idea of what I needed. Having somebody that's outside of your situation, a good girlfriend, a close family member, someone close to you that has your best interests at heart, that can think while you're in the middle of this, because you will be in brain fog. I'm so glad that my girlfriend paused me, sat me down so that I could think through. So when we drew up that agreement, it became an addendum to our divorce decree. Later on, when we went back to court, because there was some things we did need to shore up because we didn't know, which is why I share consult. There are lots of opportunities for you to have someone give you some support. Some of the individuals that work in a courthouse don't mind sharing with you what you need. They can direct you to the forms that you need. Some of them may even sit with you as you fill it out. Whatever state you're in, go to your state's website. Look at what they have available. You can search the court system by the specifics that you need. If you're dealing with family court, you can look that up underneath your state's website. See what resources are available. Sometimes they'll direct you to pro bono lawyers that'll give you the opportunity to support you while you're working through these changes. But that leads me to number five. At the end of the day, you can afford to do so. Consult a divorce attorney. And I'm specifically saying divorce attorney because there are different attorneys with different elements. Someone that specializes in divorce has a skill set that they look for certain things that can support you. I had initially a generic attorney that gave me generic insight, and then I had to eventually go back to court years later with a divorce attorney and shore up some things. Now, because I did go through some of the elements initially having conversations, I don't think I paid nearly as much as I would have. But that first go round could have saved some of the back and forth that I had to do in court. So do what you need to support you. And for those five, go back and listen to this morning's episode so that you can really get a handle of those things. Because for this extended conversation, this one I want to give you some reminders. I want to remind you about your strengths. One of the things that happens when we go through a divorce, we sometimes forget or lose who we are. You forget how brilliant you are. You forget some of the skills that you already bring to the table. So you don't pay enough attention when time is coming around, when you hear some of the chatter that is happening around you. Sometimes there are lies thrown back and forth that you may be experiencing, knowing that is not a part of your character. But you could be in a situation where you have someone that has narcissistic tendencies gaslighting you, and you forget how incredible you are. You also forget how much courage you possess while you're walking through this. With the storms of life at this moment coming at you head on, know that you have a strength within you. There's a courage that resides in your soul. And this moment may be the moment that brings it out. I want you to know that you can do this. You will get through it. You have the ability to persevere and tackle whatever's coming your way. You can do this. The next thing I want you to know is focus on the future. When we're in the middle of the storm, it's difficult to see with all the stuff whirling around that there will be a better day. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. Just keep going. I said earlier today, if you find yourself walking through hell, keep going. Each step you get, you're moving further away from the chaos. And for those of us that seem like we are backpedaling, because some moments I felt like two steps forward, one step back, and it was a constant struggle. Keep moving. There will be a moment. As long as you think long term about what's happening in your existence, you'll get the chance to see the light at the end of the tunnel. You have to deal with the immediate financial concerns, but don't lose sight of your long-term goals. Set milestones. I shared this morning how one of the things that I wanted in the aftermath of my divorce was to go back and get a home. I forgot that I purchased my first home at 23 years old. If I could do it at 23, then I can do it at 32. Now, granted, living life, my credit was shot at 32 years old. I no longer had the opportunity, but here's the thing that I did have. I had a little more wisdom in my hip pocket. I had a little more understanding about what was needed. And it gave me the opportunity to set the milestones that I had to put in place to support me on my journey. So I got my home. And I also share for those of you that may be like me, walking back into a new home buying opportunity. Some places will give you the chance to get reset with some of those resources in a 3 year or 5 year time period. I said earlier that it was a 5 year time period, but when I stopped and I thought about it over the course of today, I achieved that goal in 3 years because there were a few things that I put that helped me get the new home buyer opportunities. So part of that was the next thing I want to share, seeking support. You're looking for a specific task, a specific milestone, and you are in a new environment. Because for some of us, we had to gain new skills. Coming on the heels of my divorce, there were some things I forgot about me I needed to remember. But there was also some things that I needed to know because I had never been single, parenting two children alone. I had never been in a position where I had to pay attention to all of the financial platforms or reset myself so that my future life can have some of the resources that were depleted because I had to drain my 401k and selling it out, the things with that divorce, the savings that I had in place. I depleted that just living, just keeping a roof over my head, clothes on our back, and food in our stomach, and still didn't have enough at the end of that journey. Because, like I shared this morning, there are times there's a gap between what you're expecting to receive from court and when you actually receive it. So you may walk through a position where you're depleted, like I was. So to find some creative ways and seek some new support to get a different way of evaluating what I had learned, what I knew, and what I didn't know. So one of my new skills was building on an old skill. There's something that you already bring to the table. You just may need to enhance. Those of you that know my story have heard how I entered into lease options. It was something that I was working with a little bit before I got married because my grandmother, as I shared, was what is now considered a weekend warrior. So I knew how to do small rehab moments, laying down floors, putting in cabinets, painting, light electrical work, light plumbing work, things like that. So I knew how to get a house that didn't require a whole lot and do the work myself. I learned a strategy by seeking support from real estate investors about how they were acquiring properties, found a way of doing it, used myself as labor, and got that as an opportunity to start accelerating my financial situation simply because I went to go seek the support that I needed. So here's the other thing. Don't forget, celebrate your progress. If it's a small milestone that does not make sense to anybody but you, do it. Celebrate it. Some of you know that in the aftermath of my divorce, I was truly broken on top of being broke. And it took me a while to just decide to get out of bed. But when I decided to sit on the edge of my bed, I celebrated that. Because for me, that was progress. For me, that was a milestone. I don't know what it is for you, but whatever that small thing is for you, celebrate it. For some, it may be buying a new blouse, being able to, for the first time, make a decision about what you want to eat for dinner all by your lonesome. That was a milestone for me as well. Choosing a meal just for me. I didn't have to consider anybody else in this meal. And it was one progressive moment towards Tanya rediscovering herself, finding me again in the midst of the mess, which leads me to the last thing I want to leave you with tonight. Believe in yourself. You are capable, resourceful, and you deserve to love you the way you love on others. Your big, beautiful heart has always been giving, helping other people find their happiness and success. In this moment, I want you to do it for you. Find what brings you joy. Believe that you will get through this moment. Believe that you have the courage and capacity to walk through it. And yes, you may have to go through a stretching, but you can do this. You will be okay. Tough times don't last always. And if you need someone to join you on the journey, feel free to reach out to me. You can go to my website, tanyaehood.com. There you can click under the Work With Me tab, see the various ways that we can work with one another. But if you just want to talk, go over to contact me. Set up some time. I offer 30-minute sessions for those that have been walking through the storms of chaos like I have. Because there are moments just having somebody that understands, that has a listening ear. I shared in this morning's episode, find a tribe. There's a group somewhere that has walked through your journey. And I'm in a couple of different tribes. So for those of you that have found me online and in the various places where you know you can have me present, just reach out. I don't mind having a conversation. That initial conversation is always just you and me talking. And I want to be a support to you, which is why I teach, share, and show and do what I do here. In the meantime, have an amazing day. Listen to this morning's episode and leave your comments below if any of this resonated with you. Like, share, and let somebody else know how they can get through the storm. In the meantime, this is Tanya E. Hood, walking in my purpose, and I want you to do the same.